Hey everyone, and welcome back to More Than a Brand. I'm your host, Lindsay Tramel-Jones, and today I'm sharing something that I've never really talked about in public before. A few years ago, I was charging $1,500 for a customer journey audit. Each one took me about 8 to 10 hours. It was massive. And then afterwards, I would deliver strategy and a 90-day plan to improve their customer journey. All those hours of manual work, digging through Google Analytics, reviewing email sequences, mapping out every single touch point where clients were losing money was exhausting. The results were incredible. The clients were finding 10K plus in revenue hiding in their customer journey, but I had a massive problem. I could only help one person at a time. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly how I automated the process and turned it into a SaaS product called FlowLab, and why this story matters whether you're thinking about productizing your expertise or you're a service provider who's tired of leaving money on the table. So grab your coffee and let's get into it. Welcome to More Than a Brand podcast. I'm Lindsay Tramel-Jones, the founder of Fiercified Creative and Consulting. In this podcast, you will hear stories of how amazing entrepreneurs made the decision to fall in love with themselves enough so that it bleeds over into their business. We're getting deeper than the industry. We're talking more than the brand. We're talking about the entrepreneur and the face behind it all. Sit back, listen, grab your notepad, and get comfortable, because these stories are going to take you to a place that no other podcast has taken you before. Let me paint you a picture of where this story begins. It's 2022. I'm deep in the trenches doing audits for consultant and scaling female business owners. These audits were intense. They took a lot of time. These owners were smart, successful women running six-figure service businesses, coaches, consultants, online educators, but they all had the same problem and were hitting the same wall. They were profitable, but growth had plateaued. They knew something was wrong with their customer journey. They were saying something's wrong with how I'm getting clients. They didn't call it the customer journey, but they couldn't quite figure out what it was. What would happen was they would hire me to do these deep dive audits, and I would spend hours analyzing all their data, their entire customer experience. I'm jumping on email lists, seeing what that flow looks like, seeing how it makes me feel, blind auditing their Instagram and their Facebook to see what kind of vibe they're giving me. And from the moment someone discovers them on social media all the way through becoming a repeat client, I was in that process. And here's what I kept finding: the same problems over and over again. Client number one, her checkout process had 3 unnecessary steps, and it was causing her to lose 40% cart abandonment. Client number two, her onboarding sequence was way too damn long, and clients never completed it. And then client number 3, she had no follow-up system after the sale, meaning she was a hit it and quit it service provider. But what I noticed, it was different businesses with the same patterns. That's when I had my light bulb moment, like I know what to do. After completing several of these manual audits and spending several hours of my time hunched over my computer figuring out what's wrong with their businesses, I started seeing a matrix, or seeing light, whatever you want to call it. I realized that 80% of what I was discovering followed a predictable pattern. There were 12 to 15 common conversion killers that showed up in different combinations across different types of service business. The awareness stage issues range from confusing messaging, weak lead magnets, unclear value propositions. When it came to the consideration stage, the problems were like nurture sequence that don't actually nurture, no social proof, or unclear pricing. When it came to the conversion stage friction, there was complicated checkout flows, payment processing issues, unclear next steps, and then when retention, the delivery gaps, it ranged from poor onboarding, lack of communication, to no milestone celebrations. Like, we always want to hear, you go girl, or we got this, or we're almost there. And then lastly, the loyalty stage was usually neglected. Most people don't have a retention strategy, no upsell systems, or no referral processes, and that caused them to leave money on the table. But while I was going through all this, I started thinking, what if I could systematize this? What if instead of me spending 8 to 10 hours manually analyzing each business, I could create a framework that will automatically identify these patterns? And that's when the R.I.S.E method was born. R.I.S E stands for Research, Innovate, Strategize, and Evolve. And let me break it down for you. You know, I always like to break things down. The framework became the backbone of everything that I do. It's like I always say is like our frame's red hot. We put the ish on everything. R in RISE, it stands for research. This is the foundation work. Instead of guessing what was wrong, we would gather actual data. We would look at conversion rates, email engagement, customer feedback, drop-off points, Google Analytics, all the things they had that gave us a clear picture of what was going on. And we identify exactly where people were getting stuck between hello and take my money. I says for Innovate. Once we know what's broken, we would brainstorm solutions, not just any solution, creative, practical fixes. Now, I'm not going to introduce you into some heavy tech savvy solution if you're not tech savvy. We would implement practical fixes that can be implemented quickly without needing a whole team or a massive budget. S stands for Strategize. This is where we would turn those solutions into an actionable plan. We would prioritize by impact and effort, create timelines, assign responsibilities, make sure the fixes actually get implemented. Then the final piece of the puzzle is evolve. That's that final piece of that ongoing optimization. Because if you've heard me before, you know that I say that customer experience is not a one and done, and we are not a hit it and quit it type of organization. That is where we set up systems to continuously monitor and improve the customer journey so it keeps getting better over time. Now, here's the thing that changed everything. I realized that the research phase, that shit took way too long. It was the most time consuming and was almost completely automatable. With AI at our fingertips, it is a whole lot easier to do research. It's not like we have to pull out our encyclopedias and do the Dewey Decimal System by opening all these books across our desks to do research. But with the introduction of AI and other tools, we were able to automate that research piece. So think about it. If I'm seeing the same 12 to 15 problems across different businesses, I can create a diagnostic tool that systematically checks those problems. It's like taking your car to the dealership and they put it on that little machine and it tells them what's wrong with your car. And then they still charge you $250 for labor for putting your car on that machine. Instead of me spending hours digging through Google Analytics, I could create a smart questionnaire that would reveal the same insights in minutes. Instead of me manually mapping out their customer journey, I could build an algorithm that would score their performance across 5 critical stages and immediately identify the biggest gaps. So that's what I did. As my aunt said, when you know better, you do better. So I started building templates, checklists, systematic processes. I created standardized audit questions that would reveal the most common conversion killers. I developed pattern recognition systems for identifying where different types of service providers typically lose customers. I tested things with customers that had me on retainer just to see, does this feel good? Does this look good? What does it meet your needs? So we could continue to improve the process before we put this thing out into the world. What used to take me 8 hours now took the client 20 minutes to complete. But here's the beautiful part, and this is the key for anyone thinking about productizing their expertise. The speed wasn't the only benefit. It was the accessibility. Suddenly, service providers who could not afford a $1,500 custom audit could get 80% of the insights for a fraction of the cost. Instead of waiting weeks for availability, they got results instantly just by answering a questionnaire. After testing this semi-automated RISE process with dozens of clients, I knew we had something bigger than just a productivity hack. We had created a democratized customer experience optimization, or in layman terms, we created a way to figure out where people are falling off between hello and here's my card. So we created FlowLab. FlowLab is essentially the RISE method, automated and accessible to any service provider who wants to find the revenue hiding in their customer journey. And here's how it works in practice. 1, the research phase is completely automated. In, I'm going to say 5 to 10 minutes because it really depends on how much information you put into it. Our algorithm analyzes their customer journey across those 5 critical stages I mentioned: awareness, consideration, conversion, retention, and loyalty. It identifies those friction points using our proprietary scoring system, benchmarks their performance against industry standards. So if you are at a 42% and the industry standard is a 65%, then you got some work to do. And then it also delivers what we like to call a customer journey health score, which is the all around where's your customer journey sitting. And when I told you this works so well, I did my own business, and there were things that me and my team were talking about that we need to improve. That FlowLab was like, yeah, get up and do it. So the innovative phase, provides ranked actionable recommendations based on their specific business models. So when you fill out the assessment, it's going to ask you what kind of business do you have, well, who is your target audience, and it's going to use that information to give you some advice, not this generic copy and paste template, exact implementation steps that are tailored to whether they're a coach, consultant, online educator, or a service provider. The Strategize phase creates an optimization roadmap with weekly actionable items. It estimates the time investment, potential revenue impact for each recommendation. And lastly, the Evolve phase tracks their progress. You can set your notifications to send you weekly priority recommendations and continuously optimize based on their results. When I tell you FlowLab is our brainchild and I'm so excited about it, I cannot express to you how much thought has been put into it. But don't be excited about it because I'm excited about it. Let me get you some results. The results have been incredible, and we're only been in the beta phase. And here's some specific examples because I think it'll help you understand the power of a systematic optimization. First, Cheryl runs a coaching business, and using FlowLab, she identified that she was losing her clients at the conversion stage. So yes, she was bringing awareness. Yes, she had them considering to buy her product, but somewhere in that conversion, the conversion wasn't converting like it's supposed to. So she had the awareness, she had the consideration, but when it was time to convert, things fell flat. Think about it. If you have 10 leads a month and none of them convert, and now you still have 10 leads a month and 9 of them convert, that's a massive conversion rate, and that's money in your pocket. And then we'll talk about Lynn, a independent consultant who discovered she had no retention strategy. Through FlowLab, she found $23K in annual recurring revenue that was just walking out the door because her retention sucked. She wasn't following up with past clients or creating upsell opportunities, which was causing her to leave money on the table. These aren't unicorn results. This is what happened when you systematically identify and fix the leaks in your customer journey. Now, I want to zoom out for a minute. Whether you use FlowLab or not, there's a bigger lesson here about building a business that's more than a brand. The magic wasn't creating some revolutionary new concept because customer journey optimization, that shit ain't new. The magic was in making something proven and powerful accessible to people who need it most. Service providers between $200K and $350K revenue are in this unique spot. You're profitable enough to invest in optimization. You're small enough to implement changes quickly. You're motivated because growth has plateaued. And you're lean enough that small improvements create significant impact. But they don't need enterprise-level analytic platforms that cost thousands per month. They need actionable insights that they can implement this weekend. That's exactly what the automated R.I.S.E method integrated into FlowLab delivers. And here's what I want you to think about in your own business. What do you do manually that follows predictable patterns? What expertise do you have that can help more people if it was packaged differently? What problem are you solving for a few people that actually affects thousands of people? I'm going to hand it to you straight. If you're thinking about turning your service into a product, here's the key lessons I learned by building FlowLab. First, start with approving manual results. Don't try to automate something you ain't ever used before that you don't know if it works manually. I had done several successful audits before I even thought about automation, and the manual process proved the value and revealed the patterns. So do your research. I told you I put that R.I.S.E method on everything. Second, look for the 80-20. Everything don't have to be automated. I'm one that when I'm on the phone call for the business and everything's automated, I'm yelling representative because I need to speak to a person. So focus on the parts that are most repetitive and take the most time. And in my case, the diagnostic phase where I was doing the research was perfect for automation. But the strategic consulting still happens through the done-for-you services. Make it accessible, not just efficient. The speed was nice, but the real value was bringing $1,500 insights to people who can only afford $97. Think about how you serve a broader market, not just the same market faster. 4, keep it human. Keep the human element where it matters most. FlowLab automates the diagnosis, but we still offer done-for-you implementation services to anyone that wants to purchase them. People want insights, they want it quickly, but many still want help with the execution, and that's fine. Fifth, build feedback loops from day one. Every FlowLab user can request specific help or additional resources. That feedback is constantly improving the product and revealing new opportunities. Where we started with MVP to where we're going to be on launch day to where we are currently on this day is miles away from the beginning. I've talked about FlowLab a little bit, and I know you're like, okay, girl, well, how can I get to it? So we're actually launching FlowLab publicly on August the 20th. And I'll be honest, I'm nervous, I'm excited in equal measures. I don't know, I'm kind of like, what is going to happen? And it's one thing to help individual clients get results. It's another thing entirely to put your methodology into the world as a product and trust that it will work for people you've never even met. But that's also what makes this exciting. If we've done this right, FlowLab should help hundreds of service providers find revenue they didn't know they were losing. It should democratize customer experience optimization in a way that creates real impact. And that's what keeps us going. And frankly, it should prove that you don't need a venture capital or a huge team to build something meaningful. This whole thing was built by me, 4 contractors, and a lot of late nights with Slack, Notion, and coffee, and a lot of early mornings. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Whether you're a service provider who suspects that their revenue is hiding somewhere between your customers saying, hey girl, and take my money, or you're someone with expertise wondering if it could become a product, the answer is probably yes. To the service providers listening, you know your business better than anyone else. And there's probably more people who need it than you realize. The question isn't whether you should productize your expertise. The question is, how do you do it in a way that truly serves your market and helps you meet your business's bottom line? For me, the R.I.S.E method and FlowLab represent something bigger than just a business pivot. They represent the possibility of having real impact at scale without losing the personal touch that makes service businesses special. If you want to be a part of FlowLab, the launch is on August 20th. You can head to flowlab.fiercified.agency. That's flowlab.fiercified.agency and use code FOUNDERS50 for early access and 50% off for the first 6 months. And if you're working on productizing your own expertise, I'd love to hear about it. Send me a DM on LinkedIn or email me directly. I'm always interested in connecting with other people who are building something meaningful. Thank you for listening to this longer than usual solo episode. I'll be back next month with another interview, but I wanted to share this story while it's fresh and it's real. Until next time, remember, you're building more than a brand. You're building a legacy. Stay fierce, y'all. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Remember, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the new upcoming episodes. And if you want to, find us on social media at fiercified.agency on Instagram or find us on Facebook at Fiercified Creative and Consultant. Send me a DM. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your input.